Welcome back. You are watching Prime on My Media Prime. This time around, we are going to be looking at the case of the kidnap case of Kidna, the phone on Saw, and the death of the chief in Boya, and a host of others. We are asking what the crime of these chiefs are, even if the head is the lone punishment that they deserve is a kidnap or a death sentence. I will start with you, Senior Barrister. How do we understand, especially the fact that Christian Kidna was taken for questioning? Or how do we understand that at his age?
Well, I cannot be more royalist than the king. Christian Kidna himself said that he was not kidnapped. So that's what he said. He said he was not kidnapped. So I want to understand that maybe he was taken for questioning.
Yes, but how do we understand questioning for what?
Questioning. He went to discuss with his children. Remember, he's in Kumbo, eh? He is from that area. Not really.
No, but they were taking in Baba, in Baba one.
He says he was not kidnapped.
Yeah.
We all know the realities on the ground.
Are you saying?
We all know the realities on the ground.
We saw one.
If you are at gunpoint, would you accept if you were in its shoes?
We saw Jumbe, who said on this thing that no, they are treating us very well. And how do
you cannot not just go by what we see as kidnap. If the main source, whether gunpoint or not, after gunpoint, Jumbe came out. Why did he not tell us that he was kidnapped? If the main source, as journalists, a main source
tells you saying that Jumbe was not kidnapped.
If the person tells you I was not kidnapped, are you forcing the person that the person was kidnapped?
When they were kidnapped, the chief, the phone of Saw and the cardinal were kidnapped, and the phone is still in held captive till today. The two of them were kidnapped. The cardinal was kidnapped. And that was the same thing. That was the same thing they said. That was the same thing they said when Frundi was also kidnapped. That was the same thing. We have not arrested. We have not kidnapped.
Can we have the video of the cardinal talking there?
That was the same thing that with Frundi. We have not kidnapped. We are just taking him for questioning. This. You and I, we know these boys. We know them. The cardinal himself said,
can we have that
interview? Who was interviewing them? Him. Those boys.
He was blunt on other issues now.
Okay, please, please.
Why he came back home?
Eli, no. We hear he's been hospitalized in Shishong.
Yes, he's very sick.
Actually, he's
very sick.
Yes. So he's certainly going to talk. But already we heard him exchange with those boys. If the video is there, can we play that video and understand whether he went to discuss with the boys or not? Yes. Can we have a reaction to when you got information that Kidna was taken?
Well, it's just same as any other kidnapping that we have been seeing. They were kidnapped with the phone as the news came, and it was also on this same platform that it was being announced that the Kidna and the phone on So have been kidnapped. So if he is saying that he was not kidnapped, I think that he's just trying to politicize the event, or he's just trying to how will I put it, try to not to create some kind of tension of what he went to confront. But at the end of the day, he was kidnapped, and that is a reality that was on ground. The facts, he may put it that he wasn't kidnapped, that is his own version, and he has a reason for saying that. But the phone is still there, and he has not been released, which means that both of them were kidnapped, and they choose to let go one and keep the other. You see, but Mr. Leo, you realize that this very conflict and this kidnapping and killings that we have been having in the both regions have really become a talk of time, and this is what is being discussed every day. The question here is what we have been doing to resolve this issue. That is what really matters to me, because if, like I still say, that the Tume is a religious leader who represents a people, and then Fon is also a chief who represents his community. So you realize that this kind of system, Mr. Liu, that we have been living in Cameroon, that we see also with the armed separatist fighters who have chosen to disrespect their own authority and to chase out the custodians of their own tradition and culture. You realize that this is not absolutely speaking well for us, because we understand that at a certain level we should be able to grant a respect, especially to specific people in our society. And we also understand the black culture and the black society, that we must learn to respect our authorities and our traditional leaders, especially the custodians, the people who are guarding our heritage and our identity. So you come to realize that things like this will always happen, because the main reason why these guys are turned against the chiefs and the elites of those two regions is only because systems like this are not only being this kind of superstructure governments are not only built by politicians. It's a joint coalition of religious, cultural, and economic elites that work together to build such systems like this, because you realize that the religious leaders are the ones that are absolutely hosting all of these politicians. Majority of these politicians all belong to a church. They belong, either they are priests, either they are Catholic, and they are there, and these priests or these bishops or these church leaders are not.
What has Christian Kidna not done since the beginning of this crisis? We have seen him struggle to organize the All Anglophone conference. He has struggled to bring the clergy together. He has written severally to the presidency, even wishing to be granted audience, and yes, everybody has seen him do this. How do you take him now for questioning?
Yes, that is true. But let me tell you something, Mr. Liu. When you live in a society where things are not done normally, you don't expect to follow the normal process. I'll give you an example. This is just a recent event, a neighboring country of Cameroon, Nigeria. It were the bishops and the Christians that led that protest. It will shock you.
No, but I was answering my question. The bishop, I'm saying that. Yes. I'm saying that Cardinal Tumi, the question to you, Cardinal Tumi severally has written to the presidency. He even wished to meet the president, and at a point they said that they are tired.
Exactly.
And then
that is why I'm saying that it is not good enough. I am saying that it is not good enough because it's not an issue.
Do you expect? Do you want to see a week? Do you want to see the?
I am not refusing all of what you have said. When those women came out in Kumba, the question I asked was, where were their husbands? Where were their pastors? Where were their Christians?
We are talking about Cardinal Tumi.
We are talking about Cardinal Tumi. Yeah. I'm saying that we have. Cardinal Tumi does not need. Cardinal Tumi does not need to get permission from the government to have an Anglophone conference to resolve the conflict there. Cardinal Tumi is a so. Pardon?
Okay, let's take a listen, please. Let me have the volume. Can we have it? Let us take a listen to the conversation that Cardinal Tumi had with those who took him. Though we hear that people are saying that they went to discuss.
You are currently in Ngokutunja County of the Amazonia. Good morning, the Lordship Cardinal.
Thank you.
Yeah, today is the 6th of November 2020. Yeah. Yes, I feel that. How are you doing now?
Not badly. I feel as good as I heard here.
Okay.
Although I've not eaten since yesterday.
Okay, no
but
problem.
I feel it.
Okay. I hope that we did not arrest you nor kidnap you.
I don't think so.
We were on our checkpoint because we need to know who is entering our land and who is going out of our land.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, we met you without informing us that you are coming to our territory. So
I was not coming to your territory. I was passing through.
Okay, yeah. So it's always our duty to always be on routine checking,
yes,
to see that our territory is safe.
That's a good thing.
Okay, we didn't arrest you, no, we kidnap you. We pull you out for questioning. All right? We pull you out for a questioning, and we have questioned you. Is it okay?
I'm perfectly all right, and I would like you to publish the results of the questioning.
Okay. And we have not...
That would be another way of informing the government of what is happening.
Okay. We have not taken you any ransom. Have we taken any money or anything for your release?
Not a coin.
Okay. So you will be going back to the message that we have given you, and you know the message as we have conversed.
Yes.
So you as a great figure in this southern Cameroon, that we believe, we have an allegation about you that you are the one that are creating problem with our territory. First, the fighters that are on the ground, the Amazonian Restoration Forces, that you have the routine of helping them to lay down their arms to the DDR.
All of us are fighting for peace.
So
even you.
When we heard of that, and when we saw you on our repair checkpoint, we had the opportunity to discuss with you for that. But what we are saying that we cannot here prove that you are not doing that. That is what we believe that you are doing. But you are now free to go and let the Republic know that we will never lay empty our freedom's camp. We will never lay empty our freedom's camp, because we are fighting for our rights. We are not rebels. We are not barbaric, as the Republic say. We are fighting for our rights as a people.
At any rate,
so
Republic, I'm not a member of the. I'm a Cameroonian citizen like you, but I'm not part of the government. I'm totally independent of what I say. I am not the mouthpiece of the government, because I'm not employed by the government. When I speak like a pastor, and that I can never stop doing. If I stop doing that, I will not be faithful to God, the Almighty.
okay.
If you have done wrong, I will tell you you have done wrong. If the government, the Republic has done wrong, I will say you have done wrong.
And again, another allegation about you is about federation. That is our allegation. That's the allegation I've heard, that you are fighting for federation. But I am not saying that you should talk for away, but this is what we are the one fighting.
You are right.
Okay, we are the one fighting. We are not fighting for federation, nor any special status, because we believe that we are a country in 1961, that we all know.
That's your freedom.
Okay, now we are fighting for freedom. Then we know that all our boys that, according to the allegation, you have made them to lay down their arms. Many of them have been killed.
I don't know who are those. I don't know.
So from today, we just called you for questioning, and now you are free to go and tell the story to the Republic. Okay? May God be with you.
Point of correction. I will preach what is the truth, and pastoral conviction, biblical conviction. And for that, I will never, nobody has the right to tell me to preach the contrary, because I was called by God.
Yes, again, I would like that you should, the way that...
Okay, we all have watched the discussion between those who took the Cardinal and the Forum saw, and I want us all to give our appreciation to the discussion that was going on. What is it that the Cardinal has not done that needs to be done?
Mr. Leo, this I find this a disrespect of the highest order. I don't see why any person would want to invite, kidnap a cardinal who has served humanity, served the Catholic Church, and is now retired. He does not represent any person but himself. Then you go disturb this man in his rest, carry him to the bush to go be asking him questions. In fact, I think these people, what they are doing is not coming from them. I want to believe that there is somebody somewhere in Maryland there who is organizing this as a message to the government. And you heard them say, go tell, go tell. They want the government to know that they don't respect anybody. And that is not nice, because you cannot disrespect a cardinal. This is a man we hold in high esteem. You cannot. I mean, we should have some values in our society. A cardinal, like you were rightly saying, this man has put in everything, all the efforts in the stomach to see this crisis over. Look at the all Anglophone conference that he was trying to organize. If it started with Boya, then tried Bamenda, even try Yaoundé, the government refused. What else do you want from him? At one time people said, oh, he wanted to be president. The man said, I'm a cleric, I'm a pastor, please. I am not interested in power. Before even this crisis erupted. What would any person want from Cardinal to me? Please, my brothers who are in the bush, please respect your elders, like President Biya always says. Let us respect our elders. Let us respect our clerics. I'm a Muslim, but I hold the Christian clerics in high esteem. It's not because I'm not a Christian that I should not respect them. Please, a cardinal. That's the only one in Cameroon. Since he went into retirement, no one has replaced him. Please respect him. I think it is very important that we give some value to the people we have, the personalities we have. No, it is something horrendous. I think whoever gave the instructions that this should be done should just go down on his knees and beg God for forgiveness. This is terrible. I mean, you cannot understand this. It's really despicable to have a right-thinking human being go arrest a cardinal. You are carrying a cardinal for questioning. As who? You want to? I mean, he in his church, he is the highest person there in Cameroon. You want to question him as who? Did he tell you that he's a politician to be teaching you federalism and all those things? Go and ask your politicians. If you like, ask the politicians to tell you what they want for federalism. But a cardinal who is retired, please allow this man to rest. This man is well over 90 years. Yeah. Oh God. No. This is bad.
Yep. This is really, to me, it is really, really sacrilegious, because they have failed. It shows how the lack of education is really killing the Cameroonian youth. Listen to the children asking questions. They need to go back to school. From their language, you would just understand that they have never seen the four walls of education. And then they have lost it all. They do not have respect. They do not even know what hierarchy is. And the cardinal could be or is their grandfather, their great-grandfather, and then they humiliate him like that. We all know, if as a Roman Catholic Christian, I am so hurt and disappointed. We cannot talk to our cardinal carelessly, not to talk of making him sleep in the bush. Look at how he was seated, and now he's in the hospital. But I just want to make it clear, if anything happens to him today, it is the Amber Boys who will be held responsible. This thing is pure madness at this point in time. And whoever their instigators are, I think they have done their worst. After the Kumba massacre, after all the killings that have taken place, they are still not thinking straight. This is outrageous. This is the peak.
Okay, yes. A clear message was given to him that he should carry it to Yaoundé. How do we understand that Kidna wants to do an AGC? The same person say, oh, you are a La République sponsored agent. We don't want to hear you say this. They are accused. And then now he is sent to go tell President Paul Biya this. How do we get the twist?
Like I earlier said a while ago, that this is personalism now than patriotism, because those who claim they were fighting for our rights have turned out to be fighting more from their pocket. Let me first of all start by giving you what I said before when Kidna was kidnapped. This is a news that I said, if a video comes out of Kidna, it is a litmus test for people to understand who have been doing the kidnappings in the north and southwest region. Because if that video had not gone out, you will still get some people, even when the news that Kidna was in the keeping of the non-state armed groups, some people were saying that no, it is the government that has kidnapped the Kidna to blacklist the Amber boys, to do this, to do that. But now that the video came out, everybody saw, even those people were still doubting. So it was a litmus test for us to totally confirm that
we are reading that at least 8 people have been kidnapped on Monday night, that is this night, in Livanda village. Livanda is around Limbe in Fako division, southwest region. They took 8. One of them who were kidnapped, a lady who was pregnant, has been released, but the rest are still under captivity.
Again, confirming that this kidnapping is done by the non-state armed groups, because we are tired of this hypothesis that it is this group, it is the Tarangi boys, it is the government that's doing this, and now the Cardinal and the phone was kidnapped. I told people that this is a litmus test. This is what we will know who and who have been doing the kidnapping, and you have seen it. Now, coming to what the clear message, they're sending the message to Cardinal, I think that they are shooting the wrong person. Because let me ask, the Cardinal did a 400-page document and handed to the Prime Minister. Of that 400-page document, that was prior to major national dialogue. On that 400-plus page document, it was clear as of the aspiration of the people that I think a certain number of percentage stood for the total separation, according to what the Cardinal had. And the Cardinal has been doing his best to ensure that he represents the people from the peace perspective. You remember that they wanted to force an ideology on the Cardinal that dialogue, peace come before peace come. There was something they said peace come before. I think I've forgotten something. Justice. The Cardinal said no. Justice. Sometimes they said justice come before peace. The Cardinal said peace come before justice. So at this point that you get the force on Cardinal. But what I just want to say here is that the non-state armed groups, those who are behind the kidnapping of the Cardinal and the phone on Saul, should understand that we are undermining the same values that we are preaching and that we say we stand for. Because how do you explain a situation where the same Cardinal who has been doing research and has been struggling to contact the government to ensure that this crisis is resolved, from the initial perspective as of 2017, 2018, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, we were still talking about federation. And the mandate that were given to the teachers were more of federation. And now when they are talking about separation, you should preach that with peace and without forcing the other person to buy your ideology. It's democracy. The Anglophone culture is the culture of democracy. The Anglophone culture that we took from 1917 under the Nigerian Newspaper Ordinance Law that was brought into the British Southern Cameroon was based on the policy of multi-party, where people have their ideology, their freedom of speech and expression. But now we are going back to the mono-party politics that we had, where it is either you support the Amber Boys or you don't support any other person. And that, in this era, is seemingly impossible.
Okay,
Nigeria would say impossible.
Yes, interrogation. Even if an interrogation was supposed to be carried out at Temibako, wasn't it better for a bigger personality in the ranks of the Amber guys to discuss with the Cardinal? Because when you get from the person who was talking with him, he tells, like she says, the caliber of person who was interrogating the Cardinal. Though some persons are writing to say that there was no interrogation, but we clearly see that it says we took you for questioning. Yeah.
Mr. Leo, I will first not. I will not say it was the right thing to have kidnapped the Cardinal and the phone to start with. You see, but I know a lot of people may have a different opinion when it comes to the cardinal, probably maybe because, I don't know, they have their own personal reasons. But the honest truth about Cardinal Tumi, for all the years I have followed, why do you think that the government never granted him the possibility to organize that conference? Cardinal Tumi has always stood for federalism. That has been his position. And he has drawn the elites of the Southwest to support that movement. From the 90s and from time we have been seeing his attempt of holding conference in resolving the problem in the Anglophone region. He has stood for federalism, and the people of the Southwest have not been in that opinion. And that is why each time the cardinal comes out to either put a proposal to the government or what can be a solution to this crisis, the government has never given to, because they know the position of the cardinal. And this is what I want to lay as a foundation. So what I'm saying here, Mr. Leo, when I say that the cardinal has done his own role, but to some people, he has not done enough, he did not do enough that was expected of him at his office. What am I saying is that because we have seen, even in South Africa in 1984, it was Desmond Tutu and the church that led the protest that stopped the apartheid in South Africa. We are not saying that he hasn't done, but we are saying that he did not do enough at his office. Because what I know is that you will not seek permission from the government when you live in a society where it is in disorder and law does not apply at the end of the day. These are times where you take drastic measures and say, okay, if we are not going to go like this, let me tell you something. Like, she is not in the opinion of it. In Nigeria, the bishop told their Christians to stay on the street, and they held campaign on the street.
Is that why the cardinal should be taken for Christians?
That is not why. That was wrong. Absolutely wrong.
That is what we are discussing now. The church and the solution to the problem is going to be discussed tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm receiving men of God here, and we'll probably, now we are talking, there's a chief who died in Boya. There is the phone who is still under custody.
Mr. Leo, we will not, and that is why we are saying that this is not a revolution. These so-called, whoever they call themselves, leaders or generals on ground, they are not out for any independence, or they are not out for any revolution. This is a game of merchandise. This is a business where each party is using to make money. Those people who are leading, who are there in the diaspora, all of them today have become millionaires out of this struggle. It's a whole business. Taking the cardinal into questioning has nothing to do with secession the country. It has nothing to do with that. Turning against your own people and defying the land by touching certain men who are secret to your land, I think that that's an abomination to the land, Mr. Leo.
Okay, can we get a reaction to the killing of the chief in Boya by the member of parliament for Boya, Oban?
This morning, the city of Boya woke up to the horrifying and abominable news of the assassination of His Royal Highness, Chief Mulinga Francis Nango, third-class traditional ruler of Liwula Malale, and the arson of his palace. This is another affront to the sacredness of human life, to the solemnity of traditional institutions, especially in Boya, and to the sorrow of a people who are still mourning their children who were wickedly slain in Kumba on October 24. As a young man and a servant of the nation chosen by the people of this city, I am distraught by this news and hereby convey my deepest sympathy to the kinsfolk of our fallen chief, as well as to the people of Liwula Malale. I want you to know that I share in your grief. I condemn in the strongest terms this act of wickedness, and I call upon the prosecutor of our city to probe into the matter and ensure that justice is served. For one other life lost is one too many. Above all, and very importantly, I want to remind each and every one of you of your responsibility to expose those in your communities who are sponsors and perpetrators of these acts of hate and wickedness. At this time, we must go beyond condemnation to active participation with administrative and judicial authorities in order to preserve the peace in our communities. Remember that each of us has a natural duty to care for others and to protect one another's life. It is only by so doing that we shall guarantee a future not just for ourselves, but also for generations to come.
Okay, that was the MP for Boya Urban constituency. How do we also understand the killing of a chief, the kidnap of the phone, also, and the consistent targeting of traditional rulers? What's their crime?
I think, like I said before, gross abomination is taking over this crisis. Because if you can kill your own and then killing of another traditional ruler, it's an abomination. It's way too many evil happening at the same time, way too many disrespect happening at the same time. And again, we heard that people were kidnapped in Limbe.
Yeah.
So were people killed in Bamenda yesterday by the military. And among them is a 16-year-old breastfeeding child who was shot at. What was their crime? What did they do? So these actors should stop it. We have had enough. They should stop it. They should carry their... my plea now is for them to take their guns out of these regions. Because at the end of the day, this is how so many innocent people will be dying. If you can kill your chief, how safe am I? It means no one is safe. No one is safe. They should stop it. Government should start thinking of how to put an end to it. The secessionist leaders, or separatist leaders, I don't know how they are called, they should start thinking of putting an end to this madness. When you start touching that core value, that tradition that we also cherish, then the white man's game of divide and rule is just messing us up.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leonard and co. I think it's time for the so-called Ambazonians to give up, because all they are doing now is madness. The kidnapping of Cardinal and Fon shows how uncultured they are. They claim to be fighting for our identity, but they themselves don't respect our institutions. How do they feel taking an old man of his type to sleep under the coal, claiming it was for questioning? These boys have caused abomination all over the years. The killing, kidnapping, torture, beheadings, etc. of English-speaking Cameroonians is evidence that they are not working for the good of our people. Good evening to you. Okay. Hello, Mr. Leo. Good evening to you and your crew. I think the devil is wondering where those Amber boys have taken their evil from. Lack of respect, kidnapping, and so on. I wonder whether they have human blood in them. Nancy is writing from Kumbu. I feel your pain, Nancy. Your phone is under... yeah, it's not a loving matter. Mr. Leo and crew, greetings to you. I salute your efforts. I'm of the opinion that any spiritual leader who is partisan in trying to resolve an issue has a question mark. George is writing from the United States of America. Okay. Someone. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Martin from the United States of America. I'm always happy to watch this program, Mr. Leo, with the convoy taking Kainatumi to Kumbo. How did the boys manage to stop the car in the middle? Let them stop playing with us. So where was the military along the road? No security in Kumbo. That was a planned act with the cardinal to pass that message. Okay. They refused military escort. Yeah? It was not a convoy. I'm sure it was a convoy. How many vehicles? They refused to be escorted, please. Good evening, panelists. Jesus came for sinners, so I see no wrong for the cardinal talking with those people. Education is not the issue here. Cardinal have talked, and he is still talking to no avail to the government, but his last voice still counts. Enoch Clovis is writing from Kumba. Good evening, Mr. Leo. You people should tell Mr. Biya to call off the war he declared on us. He is the problem and not the Amber. Etoy is writing from Kumba. To think that Kadnatumi can hold an Anglophone conference without the state of Cameroon giving clearance is sending the participants to jail because they will be arrested. Fombi Michael is writing from Bamenda. Greetings to all here. Our single and most important challenge is to help establish a social order in which the freedom of the individual will truly mean the freedom. We must construct a people-centered society of freedom in such a manner that guarantees the political liberties and human rights of all our citizens, though sadly we are at a point where neither the government nor the separatists consider any of the above. Oh, what a pity. Noel is writing from Yaoundé. Mondi writing from Limbe says, hello. Mondi. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and special greetings to Senior Barrister. I love the program. Anyone saying it's kidnapped, it means any person who taken at gunpoint is kidnapping. Note that the military is fond of doing that. Oliver is writing from Boyo. Good evening. Who sent him to the DDR Commission? Okay, good evening. Good evening to you all in the studio. I'm Chris. I just want to say, if you call what was done to the cardinal on the phone as kidnap, then the government of Cameroon is the master of kidnapping, because almost everyone in prison and even journalists like you were all kidnapped to the prison and are not arrested. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But you were kidnapped. Yes.
Stop calling, please. Mr. Liu, I like your program. It's heartbreaking. Any person who does not want this war to end should be somebody who is eating fat from it. It has badly affected some of us who are CDC workers. Mola Keju writing from Moyoka. Hello, Leo. I'm Bertrand from Kumba. Please tell Mr. Andrin that the Cardinal has done a lot to see to it that this struggle is resolved, but because we are ruled by persons who are not good, okay, they think the contrary. Tagiam Donatien says, good evening, Mr. Liu. The president should hand over power to me. I stand for progress and development. Tagiam Donatien. Okay, we'll continue with you. Now, what is the killings of these chiefs? Let's take the case of the kidnap of the phone Saw and the killing of the chief. Is this not also creating more problems where a people of a particular area may think that persons of a different area are killing their chiefs, and then Baba One people are taking their phone hostage? Is that not also a possibility of creating further tensions?
It's a massive possibility, especially when you look at the southwest region. I've read lots of messages coming from bona fide people who are endowed with the spirit of division, with the spirit of disunity, and with the spirit of wanting to create chaos under the belief that they are fighting to protect the territorial integrity of Cameroon, to say that most of the things that are happening in Southwest, especially Fako division, is caused by those from the Northwest region of Cameroon. I read a lot of messages which I was kind of very sad, coming from professors, coming from journalists, coming from civil society activists, coming from people who are learned enough to understand the aspect that the bilingualism and multiculturalism commission is against those things. You know, if you look at the killings, especially in the Fako division, they say most of the killings are done.
That is not my question, please.
Okay, yes, the issues.
No. Don't create other.
No, I want to recap you now. You say no.
I'm saying that the phone of Saw is taken in Baba One. Don't you think the people of Saw may think that the people of Baba One are holding their chiefs?
You are going just to an isolated case. I'm giving you a plethora of cases.
I'm asking a question.
No. A question cannot be answered from just a particular standpoint. You must be your argument. How else I should just say, okay, Baba One is going to cause division. Baba Two. That's why I have to be the case. The question is, this killing is going to be division. I have told you that I've seen this not just in Baba, but in other divisions and in other regions, and which I'm citing cases. And I was about to learn before you say. So how should I answer a question?
No, because you went into calling professors these.
No, I did not call names of people. I'm just saying that it even like.
That's a question. Answer the question. You are going to professors and.
No, there's what we call a preamble of question. Someone has to learn.
You made a point when you said the chief who was killed in Southwest, people.
I'm still learning.
They were killed by Northwest.
The
phone of Saw who was arrested in Baba.
They are saying
it's definitely going to be a thrift between the people of Baba and the people of.
I have not landed. I have not landed. I have an opinion. It's my right to build a case. You don't impose an idea that should be the case on. I have not landed. If I had landed, you say, but you did not answer my question. So my issue was, I've raised that issue. I said, like we have seen in. So the question is, this is the question. The issue at Baba is not only happening at that particular area. We have witnessed in other areas. The only solution to this is for the crisis to come to an end, because there are people who are using the land dispute to cause confusion among other communities, especially in Northwest region, where you have the Bambisi people. They want to go to this other side because they are wanting a civil conflict in this area, and now with this ongoing armed conflict, it's a favor for people to cross-cut in the village and kidnap. So if you in fact, the total issue is that I have been derailed to answer this question because I had my plans. I have a way I was building a case. So based on the fact that I was interrupted, it just changed my idea.
You're creating more problems in answering that question, which I don't want to open the can of worms. We should open those can of worms in a different platform. My question is the topic that is a Fako chief killed, the phone on Saw killed, kidnapped. Kadnatumi taken. I don't want to go into professors and other things. We discuss that differently. That is why I stopped him when he went into church, because we are discussing church tomorrow. Now, the treatment reserved for the phone on Saw, is it a clear case of humiliation and the killing of the chief? Is it to say that their position no longer counts in the land?
Mr. Leo, I believe that the kidnapping of the phone of Saw was not done by the people of Baba One.
Okay.
I think that it is something organized by the Amber Command. It was just executed by the groups around Baba One, but I don't think they are the people who orchestrated it. The reason, well, up to today, the man is still being kept because those who gave the orders have not found any good reason to order his release. And I want to suspect that because when I listened to some of the part of the interview, he was being asked why he, as a traditional ruler, decided to run for the regional election.
Yes.
There were other questions that were asked. So it looks like they are keeping him because they consider that he defied their authority, and he decided to collaborate with the government by running for the office of to be a regional councillor. So, well, it looks like the Minister of Territorial Administration, you remember, told the chiefs in Yaoundé that the terrain was very safe, they could return. Now, I see this as a message to the other chiefs. If you dare put your leg here, this is what is awaiting you. I think.
Yeah, but what is the implication? What is the implication when chiefs no longer feel secure to go back to their lands?
Why did they first of all leave their
I
land?
have a worry. Our chiefs. Let's get this clear. Are chiefs supposed to be political or apolitical?
Thank you.
That is the first thing.
They are not supposed to be political.
They are not supposed to be political.
Yeah.
So I think the error is the fact that the fund became so political and was returning to go for the elections, to go and start preparing for the elections. But even at that, he still remains the fund. But again, to the best of my knowledge, traditional rulers must not be political.
But when traditional rulers, like the case of the Fonon So, who leaves the village and lives a year out of the palace and says, I want to return, and a host of others even walked up to the Minister of Territorial Administration, making the intention clear that they wanted to go back. Isn't it also an opportunity to give them a second chance? At least they are the fathers of the land. Andrew.
Mr. Leo, this is quite complicated, because when we had a lot of internally displaced chiefs and fonds in those two regions that came over to the French region, it was a major how will I put it? It was a major event, especially in Yaoundé, because it was like a whole group of chiefs that had left Northwest and Southwest and floating there in Yaoundé. At one point, the government even became frustrated and began asking them to return back. So the regional councillor or the regional elections which are coming up is to find another platform for the chiefs to have a means to settle back there in those regions. But the question here is, those regions and many of those chiefs cannot go back to their villages. Some of them are just hanging in their regions, especially like the Fako division there. But many of them cannot go back to their respective villages to go either run their campaigns or all of that. So this is rather putting the chiefs into a more complex situation, because the chiefs were ordered by the head of state to return back to their base. That was an order. That all the chiefs right now, as I'm telling you concerning the regional election, all of them are in their regions. All of them are in their areas to campaign for the elections which are coming up and doing the preparations. So what I'm saying here is that this has been the beef of this kidnap of the phone so because of the participation of this regional election, because they see that regional election as something that has to do with the government.
Okay, don't know how true this is, but we are getting information that the phone has been released. We're going to follow up very closely to get.
That is good.
Yeah, we are getting information that the phone has been released.
That is good.
Yeah, but this act, not only the chief who died recently in Boya, we have Chief Mbanda, who actually died in captivity. More than nine of them were abducted, and one died. We have fonts who are killed, chiefs killed in Manu. Is this not also desecrating the throne? Because why even touch them?
Like I said, I once asked a question that why do we attack chiefs, and I didn't get an exact response. Some said because the chiefs are political, and I said even if the chiefs are political, does that give the divine mandate that you should kill them? Because if we go by the divine mandate where we were created, that thou shalt not kill. And above all, we are claiming that we are protecting a heritage, a culture. And what does that culture state as? That culture states that the custom and tradition must be respected. And if we are respecting the custom and tradition that we claim the Anglophone or Anglo-Saxon culture, it therefore states that we must at any point in time instead protect the chiefs as the custodians of the law. And we are saying that we don't want the so-called, they are saying they don't want custodial tradition. They are saying that they don't want what we call colonial masters, but the chiefs are not colonial masters. The chiefs are people within that particular jurisdiction. Maybe their modus operandi may not be in conformity with what these guys want, but however, to me, you must be able to protect the chiefs. But the issue too, equally at one point in time, that it doesn't justify the kidnapping of chiefs, is that the chiefs too should tread with caution, because sometimes if you know how your village is, you should equally understand that there's what we call a pull and a push factor, and something that may be a pull or a push factor to you may not be a pull and a push factor to me. Remember that in an emotionally charged conflict, you cannot control who does what and why and how. So the only thing to know who does what and why and how is for people to put down their policies and procedures. Every community needs to put down a policy and procedures, or a standard operating procedures. In every chiefdom, what are the policies and procedures as far as this armed conflict is concerned? What is to operate in a time when we have peace and normalcy in chiefdom should not be the same principles that the chiefs should use to govern its people at the time of armed conflict. Those are the two different things. But the same thing too with the people. Too, they need to understand that the chiefs who are in the very tight corner, a difficult corner. No chief want to fold their hands and say that, okay, come into my community and no state armed groups operate and go anyhow, because as far as they are auxiliary they are eyes of the government in that community. So at the point is that the chiefs are caught between the side of the state of the side of the state and the side of the non-armed groups. So they are at the crossfire. To me, both parties should, both the aggressors should ensure that the chiefs are not used as their bargaining chiefs. We've seen Chief Bandaje Williams was killed, that was late 2018. We've seen Chief Etwe was killed, that was, I think, in Mehmet Division, Indian Division. We've seen this chief now of Leulale Malale, who was killed, that's opposite Mamu village. The village is directly opposite Musaka. And we've seen the kidnap of the Fon of Saw, and the question now is, who is going to be next? So if you are claiming to protect your tradition, or you're talking about let's return back to 1961, that same let's return back to 1961, or let's return back to 1950 or to 1960, it's equally stated that respect the custom and tradition, because at that point in time, 1961, there was high respect of traditional stool and authorities. So if we are going back, we should not only go back as far as territorial integrity is concerned, we should go back as far as authority of the village is concerned, because the chiefs are the president of that village. Before the white came in with this system of governance, the chiefs were the president of each community. That's why we had Kuva Lekinye was the head of the Bakwere people. We have Asongani was the head. We have Fongaliga was equally the head. We have King Be and King Afra. They were the head. They were administering their people at the individual rules and traditions. So they were the president and prime minister at the time before the introduction of a state. Now, when the state, as the state came into being, what happened is that the modus operandi slightly changed from total independence and to administer their people to now giving reports. So I think if we are going back to 1961, we should go back to 1961 of respect of tradition. We should go back to 1961 of respect of different institutions and protection of women, protection of children, protection of the church, protection of market, and equally protection of the lame and the vulnerable. And you are innocent until proven guilty. Okay.
Padis Asanga is saying that, Leo, please ask your panelists if the House of Chiefs of the defunct Southern Cameroons was a political institution or not. What was the role of the defunct House of Chiefs in the defunct Southern Cameroons? Politicians should they hate for our traditional institutions. Most of these people are Christians who want to see our original African culture disappear. Good evening to you, Padi Asanga. Now, what should the chiefs do in this situation? Are we saying that they should abdicate their roles as traditional rulers? Should we no longer have traditional rulers, or how should they operate now?
Mr. Leo, let us look at the right thing, because what I see is that these guys are trying to stop the creation of the House of Chiefs, because these chiefs are running for to be elected into the House of Chiefs. Okay, Binglo has been arrested, so any other one who puts his nose forward should know that this is what is awaiting him.
But the list is already out. I don't know whether his name features amongst.
I don't know. Yeah, because from going by the questions that were asked him, so because they asked him the question, why did you apply to be a regional councillor? So, yes, they asked him that question. So I think they are trying to frustrate the creation of the House of Chiefs, because their prime objective is to frustrate governance by the Republic of Cameroon. So they consider these chiefs as collaborators of the government, and they want that to stop. So that's why they are targeting the chiefs. That's what I see. I don't see anything else. When any behavior is deemed as going contrary to their policy, these guys don't fear anybody.
Yeah, but the question I'll ask everybody in the studio here, Ella, can you try to get Padi Asanga via Skype? If it is possible, let me know. Let me just ask all of us.
Let me answer his question.
No.
He asked a question which I didn't answer.
Yeah.
He asked the question whether the House of Chiefs is a political house or not. with all due respect, I think the House of Chiefs was serving the purpose of a Senate.
Okay,
it was the upper house. Yes, it was the upper house. I have the Southern Cameroon's constitution, and I think that constitution.
Okay, there was an assembly and then the House of Chiefs. Okay.
1960 order, Southern Cameroon Constitution order in council. I have it. The House of Chiefs was the upper house of Parliament, so it is clearly a political institution.
Okay, it is clearly a political institution. Can we please find out? Must every chief preach secession? And once you don't preach it, should you be banished, or what is the problem?
Well,
yes, they have to answer that question, not us.
No, going by what is happening. Yes,
the issue is that if you don't align with their opinion, seeing things the way they see it, they consider you to become an opposition.
A black leg. A black leg.
And you become a threat to that revolution, so-called revolution. So that is how it is. So everyone's opinion, they expected everyone's opinion, including the common man, to suit the way they think and not to go against the way they think. And that is how it has been. And you see, Mr. Leo, I just think that we are killing our culture and we are abusing our values by allowing our the custodians of our tradition and customs be carried over into the political arena. That is where this whole conflict is. I think that the government should be able to understand that the chiefs should not be part, that is, their offices are way different and highly respected than even the government of a country. Because these individuals, the chiefs, are the ones that are keeping the identity of the people, which is very important for the African community. A president will come and go, but that culture, that identity, that custom will remain.
Are you saying that the House of Chiefs has no place?
Should be disbanded.
It should not be, Mr. Leo, because it's going to cause more conflict. We are losing our culture. That is the way it's going.
They should be separated. Okay.
It should be separated.
Padi Asanga, are you on standby? Very briefly, can you react to the situation that we find out here with the killings of the chiefs and the kidnappings?
Yes, Leo, good evening, and I want to say good evening to all your panelists, and especially to Barrister Ashu and everybody who's on board. It is a very, very sad situation, and I want to tell you that I am one of those people who went to see Esmelouf from Tadu and from Tobin. So I smuggled myself into the house of Ngiri without knowing, and then my parents at the time had to go and pay respect and had to pay the dues that I needed to belong to that house of Ngiri. So I'm very, very concerned about the tradition of the Sok people, because by adoption, I am a Sok person. I will not sit here and watch what is happening there. So the institutions of the traditional institutions are one of those institutions that I respect so much, even though I don't agree with the cardinal. I'm not a Christian. But the cardinal is somebody with whom I worked so closely during all my 3 visits to Cameroon when this crisis started. And you remember, I'm one of those Cameroonians who had a live conversation broadcasting over the social media propagating the Anglophone General Conference. So when I heard that the cardinal and the founder of Sok was killed or were kidnapped, I felt very, very bad, and I could not sleep that night until the following day. I heard that the cardinal had been released, but the fund on Sok was still kept in. Leo, we have to be very honest to ourselves. The white boys came and met our traditional institutions. Our chiefs were there; they were living in peace until they came and created the visual boundaries and legated to us political identities. And with a colonial administrative form of government, with the Bible and the gun under the Bible. When we had issues amongst ourselves, people were banished, they were not killed, they were not put into prison, they were shot by guns. So if we want out our traditional institutions, we should respect them. I want to say this to you. I am happy to
so has been released, but I don't think that releasing so now solves the problem, because that desecrating, that is sacrilege, which is not politician lying, trying to boys. We cannot refuse that we have institutions which are proper of our own, because our village boundaries, our settlement, our crops, our way of life, dressing, sacred shrines, and everything are protected by our chiefs, funds, and whatever, and chindas, from culture to from time immemorial by oral tradition. So if we don't respect those institutions, there will never be peace in Cameroon, because there will be perpetration of tribal wars, Mr. Leo. So when our people come here and say what they are saying, are just neo-politicians who think that because they have read the Cartesian theory of politics, they want to subjugate and abolish everything that is of our culture. As a fond of Quifo, I will not allow it. What happened to the fond of So can happen to the fond of Mancon, can happen to the fond of my village, Baba too, can happen to the fond of Santa, can happen to the fond of Mbe, can happen to the fond of Kikakelaki, can happen to the fond of Oku, can happen to the fond of Mbiame. So it's something that should stop. If they don't want, if the Ambazonian think that they have any leverage now as they are doing all these things, let something happen to the funds and the population that rallies behind their tradition, because it is our villages, our towns, our country before the state. Yes, but Leo, this is what is happening, and I want to tell you the truth. I knew that you were going to come to that question, because the accusations has been that the people who were killing those chiefs in the southwest regions were indigenes of the northwest regions. And Chris Arno Sako and his people, let me say this because I know you people don't like to hear this as journalists. They want to set an example and saying that they are northwesterners. I want to tell you that Chris Arno and all those other people who are working, why they go after they set up people in the northwest and southwest region to kill northwesterners, to desecrate certain things, because they believe that northwesterners are the people who are causing problems in their regions. Remember what Field Marshal said: Ayabacho is not of the northwest region. Ayabacho should not set foot in the southwest region. And now they want to, because the northwesterners have a lot of respect for their chiefs, who emanate from their tradition, and most chiefs from the southwest region are appointed by decrees, have been desecrated, and they are elected.
Paddy Asanga, what should be the way forward for the chiefs and the funds? Should they be given greater security?
Yeah, of course, the chiefs should be protected by their sacred houses, and they should also be protected by the state. The state only came in when the chiefs were existing. We cannot say that the state supersedes our tradition or our funds and chiefs and fondoms. No, they came and met us, and because we have to integrate ourselves in the modern society, that's how we accommodated them. But anybody who thinks that the chiefs have nothing to say and that they are going to assimilate the chiefs and they will only be auxiliary, no. The chiefs have a moral authority, they have a traditional authority, and they have their own modus operandi of bringing the people together and executing or propagating the aspirations of the people. So all this modern day slavery that has been imposed to us by white boys and politicians, scholars, Cartesians, they think that it is time to banish the chiefs because they believe that the chiefs are not what. Let them go, and before they start criticizing our chiefdoms and our fondom, they should stop talking about the British culture, because the British have a queen, and that queen was never elected. She's there from one generation to the other. So we should stop this hypocrisy, and politicians should not come on TV and try to desecrate our tradition or our sacred houses. All those boys who have arrested the chief or kidnapped the chief, because the right word is kidnap. I don't want to hear that nonsense that they call arrest, are criminals, and it's not going to end that way. They should be banished or be tried by the laws that may be.
Paddy Asaga, thank you. Now, I want us to, what should be done to restore the position of the chiefs so that they can once again rule their land with all the dignity that they deserve? I'll start with you, Gurama.
Mr. Leo, the chiefs, what I'll give them as an advice as a citizen of this continent is that they should disassociate themselves away from the current system and the colonial system, because this is just trying to remove our culture, kill our values, and then at the end of the day, the people lose their identity. So the chiefs should understand that they are not representing the state, neither are they being appointed by the state. They are being appointed by their people, and this goes way back before our independence. So they must be able to reserve and to retain and preserve that tradition and that secrecy, because at the end of the day, what we hold as our African values matters to us very much than what we are seeing today brought in by the West. So let them disassociate themselves away from any structure that the government is assuming them to become auxiliary, that they have been reduced and led at the level only at auxiliaries. These are not who these people are. These people, we look at them as our kings, we look at them as our gods, and we look at them as the custodian of the tradition that makes Cameroon for what it is. So these people should understand that they are selling and they are compromising themselves to sell their tradition to a system whereby at the end of the day, if they build a system that only works for the few and disfavor the masses. So they must be able to retain that integrity. Okay, Mr. Leo?
Yes.
I think the traditional rulers should try as much as possible to respect neutrality. They should not be involved in politics. They should have the interests of their people at heart. And in the Northwest, we still have chiefs who have never fought, who have never left their fondoms, like the fond of Kmer. He has always been in Lycom. Even when the former one died, the new one, he has never left Lycom. He's been there. The fond of Bafut too has always been there. So what is their secret? Does it mean they do not love the government? No, they love the government, but again, they respect and cherish their people. So they should try as much as possible to be neutral. If they see that the politics is dividing them from their people, they should stop politicking and concentrate on their people.
Hello, Mr. Leo. Killing a traditional ruler, kidnapping a spiritual leader, I think even the devil should be surprised with this action. Since administrative heads are protected, then it's obvious. Family heads are the next target. Tiku Felix from Boya. Yes.
I think I want to go again by stating that chiefs, when they say chiefs are supposed to be apolitical and non-partisan, people should not get that out of context. They have a right to franchise. Some people say, but the chief should not vote. Yes, they have a right to vote, but they should be apolitical and non-partisan. Simply means that they should stop wearing a political cap by either being a head of list for a political party, by either being a senator of a political party, by either topping campaigns for a political party. Because if you are a militant of party A, as a chief, you will see a militant of party B, A, C, D, and the rest. And if judgment is supposed to pass, even if you pass a right judgment to someone who by virtue of the fact that believe you are head of list of a certain political party will feel like you did that because he's an opposition member. So to me, if chiefs are supposed to be a political and non-partisan, above all, chiefs are supposed to respect the culture and tradition of the village. That same culture and tradition of the village. Remember, I asked a rhetorical question that how come a chief is kidnapped and a fund? Because I asked a question and people laughed about it. I asked, is it that the gods are blind or the gods are silent, or what's happening with the traditional prime minister of that village to consult the gods as we used to see yesteryears? And the simple answer that came to my mind is because of the fact that either politics have made the gods to turn away from the people or a certain issue. But my issue now is the chiefs who come back, look at their custom and tradition. What does the culture say? What the tradition says? We have seen chiefs going to bars and drinking beers and left and right, and chiefs. So at the point of the day, you ask yourself, which culture are we keeping? You have seen lies have become the order of the day, seizure of people's land and making all of stories. How do these people? So the culture and tradition must be respected. Above all, the people now has a responsibility. In as much as the chiefs have their responsibility, the villagers have their responsibility, because most of the time you see these chiefs going to political gain is because the people don't give them the value they used to receive from yesteryears. For example, how many times does the community contribute and give to the chief as financial contributions? We rarely see that of recent times. How many times we have chief people meeting the needs of chiefs? So chiefs now looked at this. So the people have that moral obligation to contribute and give the chiefs, and the chiefs will have that moral obligation to respect the culture and tradition.
Okay, how do we get our chiefs regain their positions in their palaces?
Mr. Leo, let us look at this issue objectively.
Okay.
We are talking in times of crisis. So long as this crisis would continue, no chief will exercise his normal functions. We have to be objective.
Okay.
You see, there is no way any chief will want to go back to his village and exercise his duties normally when there is no return to normalcy. So the solution is to put an end to the crisis first, before we can start thinking whether the chief should be in politics or not. Again, we have this law on the decentralization on local government has come out, and we have the special status, and the chiefs are major actors in the House of Chiefs. How do you expect them to stay neutral when the government is bent on putting in place the special status, and the Amber boys are bent on preventing it? You see, until there is a return to normalcy, don't expect our chiefs to be safe at all.
And I think with the government insisting on chiefs to return when the crisis is still hot, why can't the government use that same pressure to put an end to this crisis, to call for a ceasefire?
Okay, let me take some messages before we call it quit for tonight. This one's Mr. Leo. Good evening. I'm Barrister George Elat. All chiefs in Cameroon are a lot of politics today, and I'm greeting all the Tabang people in Boya, like Novatus Elat. I don't know. What the chief of Boya, Moja, I have seen on social media carrying gun. If he is killed, will you say it's an abomination? John from Douala, he is a chief. He should be respected. Okay. Hello, in the studio, the traditional rulers are being targeted because of their political gains from the government, and even forget about the people they say they are ruling. But no matter what, traditional rulers should be respected, though they all run to Yaoundé and enjoy with their families. Okay, we have to end here, unfortunately. Thank you, Barrister Fako, Senior Barrister.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. It's a pleasure having having you invite me once more to talk to your noble listeners.
Okay, and also to you, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo. I think that our problems we've had with the chiefs is that they have not kept their office.
Okay.
And they are seeming to take the office of politicians and building a system that ends up to work for the few and not the masses.
Okay, Pashbe, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me in the program, and I'll continue to call on government and the separatists to look for a medium to put an end to this madness.
Tamai Jarvis, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Leo. I want to call on the government to stop interfering on chiefs' affairs, because this is making the people to see the chiefs as not being prudent. Like we saw sometime when they said if chiefs don't go and march on 20 May, they'll be dethroned. So it's both ways. So the government should stop interfering on issues of the chiefs and allow the chiefs to be for the people and custom and tradition, while the government does the government job.
We want to thank you all who took time off to watch the program. The messages are so many. Unfortunately, because of the many things we have to discuss, we cannot read all of them. We want to thank the production team, Christian, and to you, Desmond, and Eli, and Bertrand, or whoever is at the broadcasting. We equally want to thank you, Tabi Tambe Bryant, who is supervising our work out here. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.